Hi everyone, we're back. Gerard Scarpaci from Hairbrained, here with Peter Gray, representing Intelligent Beauty Global, this beautiful model Mia. They're working on a braided look that he created in Iceland in front of a volcano. We'll talk a little bit about that. You can see he's gotten started on the top here. So Peter, recap what's happened here, what products you've used, and where you're going.
Okay, so what we did first of all with Mia was we blow dried her hair out using the Good Hair Guardian, which is a thermal primer, and then we used a little bit of the Style Restyler over the top of that on a pre-damp base, blow dried it out, then we flat ironed her hair. She's got tons and tons of long hair here. I've taken two parallel sections going back through the front, and I've just started using a reverse braid or a raised braid, which is where you take the sections and you braid underneath. Rather than braiding, taking each section over the top, you take it underneath, and we'll take you through that on the sides here. Jalia's just about to knot that if you take that round. So what you're doing with a little trick with a knot, you take it round and you take it round again, and then I hold that flat to the scalp. Jalia knocks that down tight. Okay, perfect. And then you pull it in the opposite direction, opposite side, and then you can double knot on top of that. And it just gives me a very nice firm base.
So we've got lots of love coming in, people watching from all over. Guys, let us know where you're watching from. And if you have any questions for Peter about what he's doing here, or just the editorial world, or this product line that he's been working with called Intelligent. It's Intelligent Beauty, Intelligent Beauty Global. Now, Peter, you can work with really any product in the world. I know you've worked with many. Why do you choose now to work with Intelligent Beauty? What is it about the products and the company that it speaks to you?
I mean, really, for me, the whole the urgency of the ecological situation on the planet, I'm not really about, at this point, I don't really want to save the planet, I want to save ourselves. It's that selfish, and people really need to wake up and smell the roses. It's like, really, we are at a desperately serious stage of the planet, and I was like, you know what, I have a responsibility. I've had a very long, successful career, and I feel like this is a way of kind of redressing some of the ozone hole that I've created over the years.
Too much aerosol hairspray?
Too much aerosol hairspray, definitely.
Well, that just leads me to a technical question. As a hairdresser, we're always like, how can you work without an aerosol hairspray? And I don't believe that this line has an aerosol hairspray. You've got the Flex Form hairspray. Do you feel that these products, the Intelligent Beauty products, being so organic, so natural, so plant-derived, perform the same as the typical kind of not that product?
They really do. I think the compromises that you make, the compromise that used to be made, it's a bit like thinking that an electric car is still a Prius. It's really not. We do this one as an overhand braid, just so there's a difference. So we've done the center one. Electric cars are no longer Prius. Thanks to Mr. Musk, we now have the Tesla and a multitude of other electric cars that perform incredibly well and are becoming incredibly competitive.
And also quite luxurious, We
really
think,
luxurious.
That it's like this granola thing, electric car, but if you've ever been inside a Tesla, it's quite fashionable, right?
It's cool, very cool. They were the first cars to drive themselves, to have that autopilot moment. I love it. It's, for me, it's really exciting. I think we're at a very exciting juncture in time. Oh, I'm going to go braid underneath here. I was going to braid on top, but I'm going to braid underneath.
What made you change your mind?
Just that I looked at the top one and I really liked the way it looked because it's raised.
So what's the difference between braiding underneath and braiding on the top?
Braiding underneath.
Asking for a friend.
It'll take the volume away. So here we're going to go. You're taking the section underneath that side section. You drop that side section away over the top there, and you just pull that in. And I'm not pulling it in too tightly. Then you pop your thumb on top there. You roll that underneath, and you pop your thumb and forefinger there. Then you take another section from underneath. And really, this is only fiddly because Mia's hair is so incredibly long and incredibly thick. So I'm taking that from there, and I take that other one right underneath there. And really, I think the biggest mistake everybody makes in the beginning is trying to be too neat. You know, a lot of the time, I think you kill the whole feeling of the braid. You know, like I love braids that are really textured. Often I'll put a braid in and I'll be like, oh, I made that too neat.
So you're saying that's what my problem's been? I've been just trying to be too neat?
Maybe too neat. I think it's like finger waves.
You know, it's a little bit, for me, it's a little bit like ADD. I do a few of them and then my brain starts to wander.
To like kick out.
Yeah, and like rather than like zone out on the method, I just kind of like all of a sudden start doing something different. But hey, braids are amazing. People love them. They're so versatile. You can work on so many different hair textures. Now, how important is the preparation here and what products went into preparing the hair?
So I think it's very important because if the hair doesn't have any grip, if it's slippy, it's like trying to dress hair. If you're trying to dress hair that hasn't been prepped with thickening lotion or a mousse or something like that beforehand, it's nigh impossible. So, you know, I really like the kind of cocktail that I've come up with works extremely well. The style restyler for me gives the hair that third day grit. You know, when your hair hasn't been washed for 2 or 3 days and it really styles up nicely.
So that's amplifies what you're talking about now. That's the style restyler, and then you also prepped with Good Hair Guardian.
Good Hair Guardian, which gives the hair like a smoothness, and it's also a heat protector because I will probably be using the flat iron on the ends right at the very end, which I obviously didn't have access to a flat iron on the side of the volcano, unfortunately.
You just pick up a lava stone.
Yeah, exactly.
Just run it down the hair.
At 1,000 degrees.
I'm sure your hands aren't that sensitive to heat after all these years of working with curling iron. Just love that long pinky nail?
No. Just I've got one thumbnail that's actually a little bit longer than all the rest.
You used to have a long pinky nail so you could slide the hair off the iron. I remember those.
Exactly. Slide the hair off the iron, and also great for sectioning, for braiding. So that's an advantage.
I want to welcome everyone that's watching. We've got people coming in from all over the world. I see someone watching from the Philippines. So amazing to share education all over the world. And with Intelligent Beauty Global, there were a few questions about, yes, the product is beginning to be distributed worldwide. There is a European distributor, and it'll be coming to you soon. A little bit about the history of this brand. It was founded originally by Horst Reckelbacher, who many of you will know is kind of quite the pioneer in our industry. In the early 70s, the mid 70s, he was already creating plant-based products, and this is kind of his legacy. His family has taken it over, both his partner, his wife, and his daughter. So now, currently, it's a female-led brand. Another thing you can feel good about. Well, what are your thoughts on that, Peter, working for a brand that's female-led?
I have to say, they are far more forward-thinking than any male-led brand I've ever worked for. I mean, when you pitch shooting at a mangrove swamp at 47 degrees in the Abu Dhabi desert to a client, and they say yes without even taking a breath, it gets very exciting for me. Okay, would you mind grabbing that quickly for me?
I got that.
Grab that little piece of elastic there. No, don't worry.
Yeah.
Perfect, you do yours. Yeah, go
This is what my hands are
Pull
good
nice
for.
and tight. Okay, so what we've done is a little double knot there. Okay, and what you can do is I can use a skinny brush. And you could just literally brush along in the opposite direction to give you exactly the opposite of what you would normally think a braid should look like. A little bit of texture, not worrying too much about your sections. I've taken this section very clean, and over here I was like, it's fine. I'm going to go on a little bit of a one day, and it's perfect because we're trying to create a raw look here. And I think when you're looking at Viking's hair, and that was my reference, I was like, wow, they're all so raw and really interesting.
Peter, how much of the time when you're working editorially is it just kind of intuitive, like you're just saying there, like, oh, I just feel like I'm gonna section it this way, and how much of it is like really planned out, and does it depend on the job? And
it really depends on job to job, and it really depends on the client, because some clients, like I said, you know, the ladies at IN are totally open. You know, when I sort of said, I'm in Iceland, I'm going to go to the volcano and shoot, and I've managed to secure this actress, and they were like, really, we don't have the budget for that. And I was like, yeah, don't worry about that. Nobody's really caring about that. We're all just interested to do a project that's fun and interesting. And I think really that's what we've come to now, sort of post-pandemic, is where certainly myself and the people around me are really interested in being stimulated again, rather than just being stuck in that commercial world. Okay, this is where it gets fun and interesting.
Fun and interesting. Those are your middle names, right? Peter,
Yeah.
Fun and Interesting, Gray.
This is where it gets fun. All right.
What do you got in your bag of tricks there? I see some string and some ribbons and bells and whistles.
So, silk embroidery thread comes in tons and tons of different colors.
Silk embroidery threads. This is something someone would get at like a sewing or yarn shop.
Sewing or yarn shops. You know, all sorts of, these are actually the colors that I picked it for Iceland, the orange and yellows, because of the flames. There's pink there's more hair colors there. I've got bags and bags of them and different. And it's silk thread, so it slips across the hair, very, very easy. Now the key with this is, find the loose end and just pull the loose end. Okay, and did that work? Here we go. Let's just get that, and what we want to do is keep on stretching that out. We want it longer than the braid.
So you literally reach down to the length of the hair?
Down to just beyond the length of the head.
And that's pretty long.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that hair. Beautiful hair.
Beautiful hair. Really incredible hair. Thanks, G. Okay, so I'm going to leave that bit of hair there. Thanks, G. Right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take that and I'm going to put it around the base, create a loop. I'm going to pull that loop up nice and tight and fastened on there. I'm going to pull it out with the rest of the section, get rid of the hair underneath, take my sections. Okay, it's still sitting on the top of that section, and I'm going to braid that in. Right, do you want me to hold that for you?
Oh, thank you.
There you go.
I think
Perfect.
we can.
Okay, knot it. Okay,
I've got a free hand.
double knot. Okay. Okay, perfect. Done. Okay, perfect.
So for our viewers at home, the one thing that you can't partake in is the great aroma that's coming in the studio here from the product here. So Peter, even the aroma is 99% certified organic. What are your thoughts on that, organic aroma versus fragrance?
Well, that fragrance is carcinogenic is the biggest reason not to use fragrance.
So fragrance meaning that it's like petrochemical, it's not,
Petrochemical,
where these are organic aromas.
Yes. So, I mean, this is something I think we take for granted in our everyday lives. We all love fragrance, but the corollary of fragrance is that, you're dealing with something that is very definitely carcinogenic, proven carcinogenic. They all carry warnings. And I think with time, we're going to end up in a situation like we did with cigarettes, where, fragrances are going to have to carry carcinogenic warnings. So from my point of view, I'd rather jump on the bandwagon now and not deal with the fact that there's carcinogens in my fragrance. I love the natural aromas. I really genuinely love them. I think it's the way forward. It's like, nothing is perfect, but it's like an electric car situation. Like, unless more companies jump on the bandwagon, we're just stuck. We're going to be in this situation where, we're just devolving. And I'm really excited that so many other companies are actually jumping on this eco bandwagon. And it is exciting. Rather than worrying about people copying, I'm embracing it because it's going to push us to develop new products, exciting products. The skincare has got to a point now where, I think it very clearly competes with very high-end products on the market.
One thing that I learned about Intelligent Nutrients, Intelligent Beauty Global, which is the full brand name, was that they are certified by third-party certifiers, which is interesting. Meaning, nowadays it is very kind of trendy to say we're organic, we're natural, and it seems like kind of anyone can say that. But for the brand to actually have outside parties come in, review all the product and give them certifications, I think that speaks to, the integrity of the brand.
I mean, I think that's really what it's about, isn't it, at the end of the day, is that without integrity, we're all pretty much doomed not to be too black this early in the morning, but, we all do need to do it. But at the same time, I don't want to compromise. I still want to have fun. I still want to create fun hair looks. I don't want to feel like, you know, the doomsday is going to prevent me from having a good time. And I think
So the thread at this point, I'm going to turn her just a little bit so we get some easier angles, just a little that way. The thread, it almost looks like colored hair.
yeah, it's just like very easy silk. And the great thing about silk is that it slips inside the hair. And that little trick we're going to show you right now. So I've just taken the 2 turquoise ones. I'm going to use a darker blue in the middle.
It's interesting how it's on either side. I'm sure that was deliberately part of the braiding, but it's like left, right, left, right.
Exactly. We've just kind of played, you know, I think this is the thing. It always looks like happy accidents, but you have to design it. You know, you have to plan it out. It's like a haircut. You can have an idea of a haircut, and then you've got to be able to kind of plan from that point forward.
All right, so we're just turning a little bit so we can get clear access to the back here. We'll see Mia's beautiful face again as the work continues. Actually, lots of people saying what a beautiful model and beautiful hair.
Thank you, guys.
Good job. It's that Russian heritage that makes such beautiful hair and beautiful models, to be completely honest.
Actually, there's another thing, guys. You know, this is the future. We are embracing the future. Mia is not, you know, we've worked with Mia through an agency called U-Booker, which is, it's actually an online agency which gives the models autonomy to pick the jobs they do.
So it's a very different way of booking models rather than like a traditional agency.
And this is what excites me about, you know, IN as a brand, because they're really embracing kind of every single level of it. Okay, you can braid that one into there, the middle one, and I'm going to do another little trick there.
And how long have you been working with Peter?
You know, I was thinking about this the other day. Almost 2 years, Peter.
Yeah, we kind of met during lockdown, and we were shooting in Rodney Cutler's basement. I was that bored during lockdown that I spoke to Rodney Cutler, and he gave me keys to his salon. And we set up a studio in his basement, and I was actually doing hair on Jalea. I think the first thing we did was Tech, wasn't it?
It was Tech.
It was a hairbrush brand called Tech.
So it's kind of interesting, you know, in our industry, in the salon industry, the idea of assisting an apprenticeship is sadly kind of dying, you know, for many different reasons. People get out of school and they get a studio of their own, and, you know, more power to them. But in the editorial world, I don't think it's ever going to, because it's like you always need someone to work alongside you, and people have to break into the business somehow. I don't think anyone's going to graduate from school and be shooting a Vogue cover like you'd be doing.
I think it's becoming much easier than it was. But I think, you know, really at the end of the day, your skills will out. You know, if you don't have the skills, it's going to show, and you're going to be in a bad situation. And I think it's like, you know, too many people kind of get into a situation where, you know, they don't enjoy their salon work because they're constantly being challenged to do things they can't do, you know, or being put in a situation where, you know, they're not sure what to do technically. And, you know, the great thing for me, you know, that's why we're here on Hairbrained, because I really believe that after teaching at Sassoons for 15 years, that is the way forward. You know, education is the only way.
All right, so what's happening now? I love this conversation, but everyone's wondering, like...
Okay, what the heck is he doing?
Yeah, brain surgery?
Yeah, exactly. I've got a large darning needle, okay? If you're looking, go online, Amazon, they're called Susan Bates needles. There's a whole range of sizes, and I love old Susan Bates because she makes these blunt needles. And
so you don't have to worry about poking the scalp.
Exactly. Yeah. You got to still be careful, but
yeah, of course.
You know, I'm like...
Even using a tail comb, you have to be careful, right?
Exactly. So, you know, I'm able to just sew it in exactly where I want, and I'm diving in and out of the braid here to a point where I can't just like the effect. And you don't, it's not like a specific technique, I'm just kind of getting the thread running all the way through. And then when you want to hide it, you just take it, run it through, run it back inside. We just pull it, put a little bit of tension on, snip it off, and it disappears.
And you can just cut it right there and it won't come out.
Absolutely.
Because it's just woven into the hair.
Absolutely. Okay. All right, perfect. So, let's continue here. I think what we're going to do is I'm going to continue threading, and I'm going to take a section behind the ear here, and I'm going to take that diagonally to the top of the ear there. And I think this is one of the things that people are also intimidated by. They go, like, hairdressing is different. But I mean, you learn hair cutting and the sectionings are exactly the same and very, very related.
Well, it's all on a human head, and if you can section it for cutting or color, you have to section it for styling, yeah?
Absolutely.
So here you're coming kind of from the crown a little bit forward to the middle of the ear?
Yep.
Yeah. That separate the front from the back?
Absolutely, and I'm just doing the same on this side. I've got that like parted off there, so both sides are kind of going to be sleek on the side. I kind of love the idea of bringing out some beautiful eyes and beautiful eyebrows here, because I like the light skin. All I did to crack the skin was just use a little bit of the seed synergy. Seed synergy brown. So I used a little bit of the seed synergy lotion on her face and just gave her face a very light massage.
So Intelligent Beauty is hair and skin. So the same concept, and I think perhaps even a little bit more so because of with skincare, you can use a bit more plant technology, so to speak, than hair care at this point. So this is some of the most pure. This is my personal favorite, the liquid green oil. I've become completely addicted to this. I have to have it every morning on my face. It's just a great, amazing oil. It just absorbs right into the skin.
It's amazing that it doesn't feel oily though, isn't it? That's what I really like about it. You know, I mean, I use it on the hair all the time.
I hear there's a body version coming out for a full body look.
There is.
I'm going to turn around a little bit, Peter.
Yep. So, talking of cutting sections, like if we think about a cutting section behind the ear, if you were going to graduate in behind the ear, I've just taken a very nice wide section there. I'm going to separate that into a couple of sections here, and I'm going to get Jalea to start braiding those. So Jalea, if you come around this side for me. Come around this side.
So again, if you're just joining us, Peter's recreating a look that he did in Iceland. He was at a volcano, and we'll find out why he was at a volcano shortly, and had a model from Iceland and wanted to do a Viking-inspired look. And Vikings were known for braiding their hair and working these elaborate styles. And so what kind of research did you do? Did you look at any old kind of, I guess there's no photos of Vikings.
I actually watched Netflix of all things.
You watched Vikings?
I watched Vikings, and then I watched a couple of other Viking series that have been on. And I was absolutely blown away by the detail that all these film people have got into.
We often think of African braids.
Yeah.
And obviously there's a thousands of years of tradition there. Is there any difference? Do you see any difference between the way like the Viking braids were done and the African braids? Or, you know, I know that you're not a, you know, history major, but...
Yeah. No, there definitely was. You know, the Viking braids were from off the scalp. They were like, you know, intended to flail around. The African braids were much more based on the scalp.
And to bring the hair into the head.
To compact the head.
Okay, that's a great point right there. You know, that the history of things evolved differently. And I guess that would have to do with perhaps the climate in Africa being hotter. You would know, being that you were born and raised in Africa.
I think also the braids were there because their hair was long and they were fighting all the time.
Right.
You know, they were active. You know, the Vikings were very active. Okay, so just threading the needle. This is my Susan Bates. Get rid of that, please.
Someone was kind enough to put up a link to your needle, so if anyone's interested.
Thank you so much.
And you know, guys, we've got some team members from Intelligent Beauty Global on the feed here. So if you have any questions about the product,
come on,
where
Gordon.
to find it, jump on. Actually, it's not Gordon today; it's somebody else.
You got Taylor?
I'm not sure who it is, but we had a team member who's been very active, doing a great job. Thank you.
Oh, fab. Thanks, guys. So they come in different lengths. Again, you've lost a bit of Susan Bates at the top there. But I have many different lengths of them. And I love them because, you know, they're blunt on the end. They're very strong. They don't bend. The moment you spend a little less, you compromise on quality. That's what I will tell you. And they come through very, very sharp. I do have some extremely long ones that I use for threading other projects. So again, I'm going to go in the front here, go right in the hairline. Just turn it.
3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Okay. How are you doing there, Mia? Are you okay? Yeah, you good? Mia's like, yep, I'm fine.
You know, how important is it, Peter, now when you work Fashion Week, which you just did, and when you work on shoots to build a rapport with your model. I think sometimes people don't think about that.
I think for me, it's the whole reason is being there with the models, and what's really inspiring me about the kind of models I'm getting now for IN. If people have been following, I'm kind of getting women that inspire me, women who have a specific thing they're into. A lot of them are athletes. Ragga Ragnars, coming out of Iceland, is a 2-time Olympic swimmer, which is no mean feat. On top of being an actress, a musician, a clothing design, check out M Design, which is all organic Icelandic wool. Caroline, who I met in Abu Dhabi, is a 57-year-old ultramarathon runner. Finding Anna Koto is amazing. Last week we had Anna on, and she's this amazing roller skater that I found we worked with in Venice.
So you've had this ongoing project where as you travel around the world working on different jobs, you take a few extra days to do something for Intelligent. You pick a unique place. In California, you went on the Venice boardwalk and skating. In Iceland, you went to the volcanoes. Abu Dhabi, you went to the desert. And you're recruiting models to kind of create a story and then reproducing them here on these Facebook Lives.
We're recruiting people off the internet, so I don't want anybody saying we can't do this ourselves. What I want is people doing this themselves. What I want is, for this message to spread, for it to become something that people get excited about and realize that, Instagram for me, I'm terrible at posting, but I love, finding interesting people and being messaged.
So you're a stalker?
Oh, totally. I get messaged by some really interesting people now. I saw you were here, or, I'd love to do this. I've been talking, last night I was talking to a girl who travels all over the world doing travel photography. And she's got several 100,000 followers and has this amazing presence. And, what I love is that, she's kind of woven in this whole eco thread and traveling into her travels.
So now you're bringing that one into the one from the back.
Just bring it into the one from the back, covering up a little bit of elastic there. And then, again, you can knot this off. I could cut this here. And if I really wanted to, I could knot it off, but I can also do that.
Could be interesting with a whole bunch of knots everywhere, too.
I did that. I had a knot on the front of the hair when I was in Iceland. Right, what do you need from me? You need an elastic?
No, I wanted to see braid or not braid.
Yep,
Braid
definitely
too?
braid.
Okay.
Yep, definitely. Perfect. So we're braiding down, and all of them have the piece of thread in them. Okay, so we're just going to put the piece of braiding, doing the braids across here. Actually, let's pull this one to one center one, because we've got a vortex here.
Okay.
Let's change the shape here a little. Do one bigger one. Let's hold that there. So if you just turn it towards the light there. So we've got one vortex there. I'm going to go back into the base of the neck, and it's right behind the ear there. I'm just going to take that section through. Okay, I'm going to look at that section over there. Continue that horizontal a little bit lower.
Peter, we just mentioned Fashion Week, and I know that you did some work. We saw some great images come out on the Intelligent Beauty Global Instagram. Can you tell us a little bit about what happened this year at Fashion Week?
All together there, first of all. So for Fashion Week, I worked with a brand, and I've probably worked with Badgley Mischka for about 15 years. And they're a very established high-end couture brand. So I'm using the freeform hairspray there, just at the roots, just to give me a little bit more definition, just to control all those little fluffy neck hairs. Okay, not too much. Okay, and I'm just going to put an elastic around the base here. Now we could tie that with the dressmaking elastic, which is what I used before.
Ask you normally do like the
dressmaking elastic, right. Yeah.
Why did you choose to use an elastic?
Just to show people that they can do what they like. And I think, like too many people, that's the one thing about dressing hair that I love. There is not a way, when you cut a bob, there's a definite way. Like I love the rawness, like I love, the fact that I can have a little bit more freeform, a little bit more personality here. You know what? I am going to change colours here entirely.
Ooh.
I think I'm deciding on a purple. Let's pull that out. Come on.
So these are silk threads.
Yeah,
And
silk embroidery thread.
what's the benefit of the silk?
Ah, you're about to see that at the end. That's the trick. That's the little twist. Silk is not abrasive at all. You all know that.
Is that why you sleep with that silk pillowcase?
I love silk pillowcases, and for anybody who it may be joking, but I really genuinely advocate silk pillowcases to all my ladies with fine hair. You know, even guys, like if you're experiencing hair loss as a guy, silk pillowcase, okay, off you go. You braid that one in there. I'll hold the base while you start. So I'm just holding the base here to give Julie a little bit of stability while she starts. So one thing, I don't believe in assistants. I believe that, you know, with assisting, I call them hair team. So my hair team does what I do, and that's why they become very good very quickly.
Yeah, many of your previous team have gone on to be successful editorial hairdressers.
Yeah.
Masa Honda has won many awards. So that's, you know, that shows you giving back to the craft.
I mean, I think for me, you know, it's easy to talk, it's harder to walk. So, you know, it's really for me about the excitement of kind of building people, seeing people grow, and throwing people in the deep end. Like, what's the worst that can happen? So I'm going to tie one here, and do another section. How's Mia doing under there?
I'm good, thanks.
You good?
Yeah.
Perfect. Just
Chilling.
chilling. So, a little flex from hairspray on each edge there.
I'm just reading some of these key points, and this is one I've always wanted to mention, is that the plant stem cells in the IM line, they all come from one plant rather than thousands, which affords access to otherwise unavailable and or protected plant species while helping preserve biodiversity. Do you know much about that? I mean, the whole idea of plant stem cells in hair product and skin product seems pretty intriguing to me.
Well, stem cells like a very new technology still. It's really coming strong. You can grab that piece for me. Is there full time, right? And I think, you know, one thing that people kind of get waylaid with is when they see 17 different ingredients in a shampoo and think it has to have, or any product has to have 17 different ingredients to be good. And I think, you know, again, you know, if you're pillaging 17 different sources, that's not particularly ecological. So the idea behind this is that you're basically harvesting what's available and being very plant specific.
You know, it's interesting, again, what I've read here is that Intelligent Beauty Global has higher standards than the FDA. That the FDA will say, here's some standards, and then beauty companies are expected to kind of police themselves, where IN goes above and beyond those standards, and again is certified by outside parties, which is, again, it just shows the uniqueness of the brand.
I mean, there's just a massive commitment, and I think, you know, it's very easy to kind of talk about it and use it as a selling point. And I think, you know, the amazing thing about Horst and his borderline insane attention to detail, you know, when he was founding the product line, and then, you know, having it continued in a way that's been so true to that vision has been incredible. You know, for me, it's exciting to work with people who are purists.
Again, if you're just joining us, I know lots of you are coming and going. I'm Gerard Scarpaci, founder of the Hairbrained community, co-founder of the Hairbrained community, craft hairdresser, and very pleased to be working with my good friend Peter Gray. We've been doing an ongoing series here with Intelligent Beauty Global. It's part of our bigger Facebook Live agenda, where we're doing literally multiple Facebook Lives every week with great artists and educators from around the world, from different brands. You can find all those videos here, even the two that Peter's already done. If you missed them, just go click on the live button on our Facebook page, and you can search through, and we're in our 700th or so edition here.
It's incredible, isn't it?
And so lots of incredible education. If you missed Peter's previous two, you can look through, you don't have to go through all of the posts. Just click the live button and it'll take you to everything that's been live over the past 5 or 6 years. All right, Peter, so it looks like you're getting some more thread happening.
I'm threading again, and what I've done is I've done a dark blue down the center and I'm doing more of a turquoise down the edges here. And looks like Julia's at the end of that one down there. So you're rocking, which is great news. So, and this is the great thing about working with somebody as opposed to like, you know, them working for you, holding sections for you, fiddling around, that, you know, we're able to move fast. When we were flat ironing, she actually beat me at flat ironing the head section, and I was like, I've got to watch myself here. So I'm just literally diving in and out using the tip of the needle. Okay, perfect. You on that already? Okay, perfect. We'll just clip those out the way for you. All right, perfect. Let's do one there. Let's do one big one.
Okay.
I think one big one would be interesting. We're going to use the elastic this time. Just going to go, use again, use a bit of the Flexform hairspray, just at the root area. And this is where wet hairspray is great. You just, okay, you just brush that towards you and get it nice and clean.
So this was the Flexform.
Okay, and Julia's going to pull it up to a little ponytail in the middle of that section, nice and high. Yeah.
I got it.
Let's go nice and high, I think. Not too high.
Like here?
Perfect, yeah, that's perfect. Okay, a little bit of a comb over there for me. Okay, this is the sensitive bit. Mia's cursing us darkly, you guys. Okay, push that down for me. Okay, so I decided to use this elastic here. This is dressmaking elastic again from haberdashery stores. 1, 2 threading. Take it round, close it, lock it. If it's right, double lock it. Now, a little trick, put a little bit of tension into it rather than just snipping off. If you just snip it off, you'll be left with what I call bunny ears. So this gives you a nice flush knot now. I'm going to bring you a bit of thread. What colour do you want? Do you want purple there as well?
Yeah, let's do
Good, let's do a bit of dark blue, shall we? Light blue. Let's do light blue. We had blue before, didn't we? Something that's a little unexpected here.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got perfect. Mia's helping now. Now we've got all hands on deck. Okay, again, taking from the base of the hair, it's giving us a little bit of extra length. Spasiba. Okay, fantastic. All right, off you go. Right, and I'm just getting on with sewing a little bit here. If you wanted, say, a little bit of extra colour, so that one looks a little like you could do with a little bit of extra colour, so I'm going to just thread a little bit of extra colour into that one while Julia's doing braid.
I'm working quickly, but I'm making sure I'm getting straight exposure through the braid. It can get lost very easily, so just keep being mindful of that.
Okay, here's another little trick implement that I use a lot. Okay, it's a threader. It's got like a little flap on it, and what you can do is you can push it through underneath braids, and then you close that. You pop the string inside it, or you can use a ribbon or whatever you like, and you can pull it through without it catching on the hair. And that way we're completely underneath. So these are all sewing implements that I use. So, you know, I really find, you know, haberdashery shops are a great source of inspiration. You know, when you're doing more creative work, you know, obviously this is not an everyday salon look. It's meant to be a fun, inspirational look. The idea is you can totally use these ideas for bridal hair. But, you know, if you took like a wide silk ribbon, for example, and braided around the base here, it would be very interesting. We could have, you know, a very nice, expensive look. You can cut the ribbon, we could braid the ribbon in and then cut into the ribbon, so we had lots of little feather points all the way up and down. You got elastic there, you good?
Peter, you were talking a little bit about Fashion Week earlier and
Yeah.
working with
Actually, Mishka. Oh, we got waylaid there. Okay. So the great thing about working with Badgley and introducing Badgley to IN was, there's a huge amount of credibility involved in working with Fashion Week, and I just wanted to show that it's actually not that difficult to get involved. You've just got to have the will. A lot of the people who I work with on my show teams are people who've DM'd me on Instagram and said, hey, look at my work, I'd love to work on your team, can I join you? Yeah, let's keep those sides. I've got another idea for them. I don't want to braid them. So this is me making up ideas as I go, coming up with the part of it like. So where you can't see the thread here, I'm just braiding it through and putting it on the surface, just following the braid angle. So you get the string on the surface, the silk string. I'm actually integrating it a little bit so it's buried. If you use silk ribbon, you get silk shoelaces as well, which are fantastic to work with. I really love working with silk shoelaces. I think they come in 40-inch lengths, and for about, I think it's $15, you get about 20 different colors on Amazon. So yeah, definitely makes life exciting and interesting having accessories like that.
Is there anything that you can't use in the editorial hairdressing world? I always thought it was so crafty, like you spend all your time in like Michaels and looking for interesting things.
Totally, Dwayne Reed.
Yeah.
I mean, like I loved all the sewing shops. Okay, let's go. We need a little bit of flexible hairspray. I need my thin dressing brush. Right, so this is a thin hair dressing brush, a little skinny brush. Okay, a great way to use that is to actually put hairspray, that wet hairspray, right on the tip of that. I'm going to flip those ones up. I'm going to ask you to hold on to that, please, Mia. Yeah, hold on. That's right. All right. And I'm going to take the side here. I'm going to rotate it to the front. Stay there. And hopefully we get enough. Oh, a little dry. Just a little more hairspray on the brush. I'm just going to brush it through on the sides.
Now, is that the flex form again?
That's the flex form. Yes. I'm just putting a little through here. And I'm just putting it through the front here because I want something to contrast with the smoothness of those braids. Okay, and I'm just going to rotate so you can actually see what I'm doing here. Now, if you spray, the closer you spray, the wetter it'll be. The further back you spray, the more diffused the spray will be.
So by the time it kind of hits the hair from a distance, it's more dry.
Exactly. So I'm going under this braid here. I just want this nice and neat here. There we go. There we go. Perfect. All right. Okay, and I'm going to get Julia to hold this one, please. Got that?
Mm-hmm.
Great. Perfect. Okay, and I've got a little needle floating around on the scalp there that I can just pop up there. We'll come back to that in a moment. Okay, again, spraying onto the brush, getting it nice and wet on the, and then rotate you again. And I'm just taking that section, and it's a little bit like creating an undercut on a haircut. That's going over the top of the ear. Yeah, sorry, Mia. You okay? Tiny spritz on there. Just roll my hands over.
Taylor would like you to keep your hair like this, Mia, at least for a few days.
I will. Thank you, Taylor. I know her.
Taylor's the force behind the scenes. I'm the one who texts her at midnight saying, Taylor, I've got this idea. Can we do this?
Peter does not work banker's hours. That's for sure.
I like to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning with an idea, and I like to get that idea going. I have zero filter with all the travel. I think the interesting thing is, right, so let's do this slowly. So we've gone around the loop here twice, and then Julia's going to do it loop it once.
So this is the alternative to the elastic.
Yep, and then loop it again, and I'll pull it down. And I'll pull it tight and then you put it in the opposite direction, which locks it. Now, if you let go now, gently, let go. No, just let go gently. It'll actually hold without fixing it in place. So now I can check it, I can walk around, I can look at the front, I can say to me, how's that feeling tension-wise? I can put a little more product on my brush, I can clean up those tiny little fluffy hairs on the side there that irritate the heck out of me generally. When you're dealing with 15-mile-an-hour winds on the side of the volcano in Iceland, it was a nightmare. It was pretty crazy dealing with the wind there, and I mean, every couple of minutes, every 10 minutes or so, the volcano would actually erupt.
Now, you kind of camped out for a while, didn't you? I
Yeah.
mean, you know, we're actually personal friends, so I know a bit of his story, and he got himself a little van and a
4x4.
and just camped out. How long did you camp out by the side of the volcano?
I spent about a week there in the end. I was just so fascinated by the power. Okay, this is your last one. Let's go for it. I'll just bring you a thread. I was just so fascinated by the power of the volcano and how it changed the landscape. You know, it's literally changing the landscape of Iceland. You know, I mean, there's a road that's about to be covered by the lava, which I find fascinating. Put another bit of blue thread there.
No, you're doing the floor.
I took it.
Oh no, look right here next to.
Oh. Okay, hold on 1 second. I've got to actually just give this. I knew I had one little piece. I'm just going to go through the back here, and just to show you how random it is, I'm going to loop in another bit of blue in that. Off you go. Keep right back there. I'm just holding that on the base there, just while she starts. I'm going to carry on sewing on top while I hold that. Proving that men can multitask occasionally in this female-led company.
There you go. That should be good, Peter.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You good?
Mm-hmm.
She's already got it under control. I'm so disposable.
Well, a good teacher, that's what they do.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the kind of exciting thing. I was speaking to Masahonda in Japan the other day. He's about to do an enormous international show, and we were talking about, obviously he's very ecologically minded. As a result of working with me for 10 years, I really do try and walk the walk and talk the talk. Apart from flying far too much, which I do endeavour to buy back the carbon miles. I know it's not the best solution, but it's a solution for now until we get to a point where planes are less polluting. Right, so I'm going to cut that bit off there. And I haven't left any loose bits today. I could leave loose bits, I can leave little knots. When I did the actual show, if you go and look at the images on the site, I've left like a little bead knot at the front that I really liked. This is the fun part. How are we doing for time?
You've got no time left.
No time, okay. That's my perfect time.
This is the world that you thrive in.
Yeah.
First looks.
Yeah. So this is literally what happens backstage at a show. You'll be at this sort of stage, and then the exciting thing now.
Except they won't be as nice as me.
Exactly. Well, generally.
I'll just start taking the cape off.
Exactly. In Italy, they just scream very loudly. Okay, so what I'm going to do here, Julia's got that. I'm going to grab the end of the silk thread here, and I'm going to concertina the braid up. Okay.
What's that word? Concertina?
Concertina.
Does that mean push?
Push it, bunch it,
Yeah.
so it creates like a bunched braid at the knot. Okay, I'm gonna go and
So these are going to really kind of stand out from the head. All right, now I see where you're going. This is awesome.
So this is the reason you use the silk thread. So you end up with something that looks
Very
almost
three-dimensional.
very three-dimensional. And we're pulling them back, and and how much you pull them is up to you. And whether you add hair, head straight, please, Mia. Sorry. Thank you.
Interesting.
No problem. Yeah. I'll have to show you on your phone
No matter
after.
how hard you try,
Yeah.
you can't see the back of
Yeah,
your head.
yeah.
I promise
Very
you.
cool.
Okay, so you can see how they kind of sit proud of the head, and how quickly, what I love is how quickly they bunch. Okay, this one was a little bit looser, so I'm going to have to take that. Okay, so do me a favor, take those two threads, wind it around the base there quickly. So this one's a little bit looser, so I'm just going to take that and just knot that on top, nice and tight. I kind of like that there's different textures to it.
It's so slippery.
Yeah.
And Peter, what's the process of taking them out? Because people always get a little nervous. Like, how will you take something like that out?
Tiny pair of dressmaking shears. These are Fiskar shears, and honestly, Fiskar shears are as important to me, if not more important, than my hairdressing scissors. I really like to have a good pair of shears when I'm working.
And then what, you cut the thread?
Yeah, cut the thread. And
You have to cut every single one?
No, not at all. What you tend to find is if I go back to the front, and that's my first knot there, I literally cut that little knot out there at the front, the first knot, and then everything just pull it out with a tail comb.
Yeah. Sounds pretty easy.
Okay, so I'm going to leave a little bit of extra thread on most of these. I'm just going to cut those ends off there nice and loose as Julia hands them to me, because I want to see a little bit of the extra color. Okay, that's all our thread chopped up now, all the excess. Right, and at that point, I go back to my little Nishida Japanese hairpins, which are textured hairpins. If you haven't seen them, they've got like a little fine texture on the surface of them. Amazing hairpins. And I'm going to just literally stack that up there. And I'm going to put one pin in there. Oops, sorry, there we go. And I'm going to stack that up. Just one at a time.
So you just kind of arrange it.
Just arrange it in a... If I said random, it would be polite. The more random it is, the better it is.
Right. And you get some of those ends that can kind of fan out.
Exactly. Like, I love the fanning hair. Yeah. For me, that's the exciting part. And I'm just pinning that right into that little base braid there. I find that little base braid. Just push that in there. There we go. All right. And we want that one there. Let's push that, turn that around and twist it a little. And it really should be fun. At this stage, there's no rules. It's like, just go for it.
Well, it's
pin it
it's
and
great
take
to see
it down.
the technical use of product, the sectioning, the braiding, combined with that just kind of intuitive finishing.
Okay, pop that one in there. I think for me, that's the exciting part of this. Is like, that you get to be intuitive yourself. You're following the rules. And there's definitely a way to braid, there's definitely a way to do it, but then you're loosening it up and you're kind of breaking the rules and not worrying too much about if it's messy, if it's not perfect. Right, let's take that. That's irritating me that those are the same length, so I like things when they're a little bit more random. But nice and sleek through the front, and just nice and straight here. And you'll see why we chose blue and purple for the top. So it's literally as random as that. Is choosing the braid, turning around. I looked at the color of a t-shirt, and that kind of gave me the inspiration for the color. All of these have just been pinned in very loosely. We could knot them together. We could really pin them tightly. We could use a flat iron and pull those through very, very neatly and spray all of them and flat iron them. I love the fact that it's just a little bit loose, a little bit natural. If you wanted a little bit more texture around the edges and you wanted like a little bit of fluffiness, you can go in with the brush. You can just lighten up the edges, and it gives you a little bit of a softness to it.
So there you have it. Another incredible look from Peter Gray. Thank you to our beautiful model Mia and Peter's assistant, Jalea. Sorry, I want to keep wanting to call you Jasia. I don't know why. Jalea. Thank you to Intelligent Beauty Global for the ongoing support and letting us work with great educators like Peter Gray. Everyone out there, please check out the products. There's lots of links here and lots of ways to connect. I think you're really going to love this, especially if you're interested in organic, really healthy for the planet products. Peter, final words?
Making organic exciting. It doesn't have to be granola. Enjoy yourself, guys. Thanks a lot.